as we come down the Ullman Straight. Yes, he is much closer.
Very, very close behind, under 0.2 of a second. That's going to come down to under 1/10 of a second if he decides to go for the move. He's going to think about it. A little bit of a Pruitt fade there from Krasowski as they go down into sunset.
Doesn't completely cover it off, though, and Fujita is through. He is our new leader coming off the final turn, but I don't know that he can hold it because Krasowski gets a great launch off the corner. He goes off to the right-hand side as Kazuki once again defends behind them. Olivier giving watch, and he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to try and poke his nose through to take second place off the hands of Daniel. It's not done yet. It carries on down into 3.
It keeps going here. Olivier trying to be later on the binders, and he's going to shut the door. That is Dominic Olivier up into P2. Krasowski demoted in 3 corners, 2 positions. Abner Acosta worked in on the high lane there on Josh Daniels to see if he's got anything. They're going to come out of the corner. Noah's Ark here, 2x2, and a big checkup. But here comes Josh Daniels thinking about making this 3 wide.
3 wide, and he absolutely sends it in deep. O'Brien tries to as well, but it's the high line that counts for the 28. No, it doesn't. It bites him. He falls backwards. Now the 77 back forward. And look at this. We didn't even account for Acosta. Acosta stuck through all of them, and he is going to manage to get up to 3rd potentially here, sending it deep into 1. He's got it. Coming down into Sunset Bend, he's going to have to go around the outside. Pavolano, we've seen his defense before. He knows how to do this, but can he do it against Kwok? No, maybe not, because Kwok carries speed and just finds a gap around the outside. That'll give him the inside coming into turn 1. The job isn't completely done. He could maybe see an over-under from Michael as he takes it wide into the first turn.
Yeah, I think you're right. Looking as we set up, trying to come through here, we're on board with Raymond Day, looking around, trying to find a way to get through these guys, taking a look as they both defend deep onto the inside, holding enough ground to not make contact from the power down, and just making it around number 87, Peter Newhook. Oh, little contact there too. Little contact.
Little bit of contact, a little bit of off track there for Raymond Day, but he's able to keep everything gathered up back under him. But he's going to be a little bit compromised here as he tries to get by Peter Newhook going down into Verth. They are really trying to hold on to this here, working their way, and they're still side by side.
Oh, Raymond Day doing the best he can in a disadvantaged line, trying to come down into here. Look at that, just getting his nose ahead, holding on to that position on the outside.
Here comes Andy.
Seems to like that exit of that corner. The car handles it well. Aggressive defensive move from Gernot Frisha, almost pushing him off into the grass, but he's given just enough space, and a lot of wheel spin there from Frisha. Unfortunately, that puts him slow out of the horseshoe, side by side, coming up in a NASCAR bend. Mikko Lino trying to do it the hard way around, and he's got it.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA. Treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com You can always reach us. If you have any questions, you can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
The first half of the season saw only one repeat winner, placing the most consistent drivers at the top of the standings heading into tonight's race at this historic North Carolinian track. Can James O'Brien keep up his run of podiums? Can Joshua Daniels finally crack the podium himself? Or will another driver find their stride in the second half of the season? Let's find out as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lundgren, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. North Wilkesboro was a legendary oval in its heyday, and to find out why Speedway Motorsports is thinking about revitalizing this just over half-miler, let's take you down to our track guide.
North Wilkesboro is a legend in the world of NASCAR, the very first NASCAR sanctioned track. Before falling into the clutches of NASCAR's expansion of the mid to late 90s, NASCAR Cup cars made 2 trips here a year. Petty, Allison, Waltrip, Earnhardt, Bonnet, Gordon. The list of winners here reads of NASCAR's legends. North Wilkesboro opened as a dirt track, having the same shape that it does to this day. In the late 50s, it was paved. This is when it became the track we know of today. This 5/8 mile oval is known for keeping a lot of speed on entry into those 14-degree bank corners. For a long part of NASCAR's early years, this was one of the fastest short tracks around, and with it, the unique characteristic, partly a result of lack of funds when they first cut the track. You go downhill on the front stretch and uphill on the back stretch. Also, the 2 corners aren't the same radius, but you might not notice that as much at speed. While North Wilkesboro is mostly known for Cup cars, other NASCAR divisions ran here over the years. Grand National had a few races. The trucks were here for 2 races before the speedway shut down. Modifieds also made some trips to North Wilkesboro. In the attempted restart in 2010, several late model and super late model series held races here, but it wasn't to be, and the speedway fell silent. Until now. Thanks to the efforts of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and iRacing, North Wilkesboro breathes life again in this virtual world, as it did in 1987. Now it's time for the Blue Ridge Mountains to hear the thunder again here on GSRC.
There you saw a little bit of the details around this North Carolinian track, but DJ, why don't you talk to us a little bit more about how these next-gen vehicles are going to handle North Wilkesboro?
Well, they're going to find it exceedingly difficult, Adam. The setup that they're working with tonight tends to be very, very tight through the center and then likes to snap loose at corner exit. And indeed, we've seen a lot of drivers struggling with that snap oversteer, so you're really going to have to watch out for that. In terms of passing, in terms of everything else and trying to get by another driver, well, traditionally the lower lane is the way to go around here, and that means you've either got to get the run off at the corner or you've got to be a little bit aggressive and maybe get a bump and run to go. But really and truly, I think the big story around tonight is going to be tire wear. Very easy to spin the rear tires, very easy to overexert them, and I think the drivers who are able to conserve their 5 overall sets of tires, they're going to be the ones to come out on top.
They definitely are, and as always, it's easy to come out on top when you work with our sponsors. Our broadcast is brought to you by ASR, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Coming into the second half of the season, the points championship is very tight. James O'Brien currently leads over Josh Conker because of that goose egg that Josh got at Texas. Currently 8 points over Josh Conker right now in second place. Joshua Daniels 22 points back. He's just had his most successful race, a win last weekend at and in that third position. Then we have Abner Acosta, who's down in the fourth position right now, just 1 point back of him. And then Eric Papadow down in fifth position, just another 12 points back. So very, very tight in the point standings for the drivers. How are they doing on the teams, DJ?
Well, in the Teams Championship up at the top, it's a little bit more spaced out, with Private Label Team Hype having a 31-point lead over Private Label Team Hype Black. A smaller gap back to Dirty South Racing, as their string of good runs has put them within 9 points of Team Hype Black. Back Racing about 19 points back from them, and only a single point ahead of SGE eSports Octane. So some very, very tight battles there across the standings.
Now it's time for the race details. Round 6 of 10 here for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series here. We got 235 laps, or an hour 30, depending on how the race ends up going. We got 5 total tire sets for the drivers, so the one that they got on the car and 4 more in the pits. They're running fixed setups this season as everyone gets used to this new machine, especially this week after the patch comes in. They also have no spare vehicle here tonight and a 24 incident limit, but hopefully the drivers won't be falling afoul of that tonight, DJ.
No, hopefully they won't. Although, with the relatively low speeds around this short track, it is possible to get into a little bumping and banging and pick up a couple of 4Xs to put you dangerously close to it. But we obviously hope that the drivers don't fall afoul of that tonight.
Absolutely. 30 seconds left in our practice session tonight. Pat Harvey currently at the top of the timing sheets, with Joshua Daniels in second, Abner Acosta third. James O'Brien back down in fifth. He said he's struggling a little bit with the setup. I think everyone's struggling with the setup tonight, DJ. I've seen a lot of people spinning off of turn 4.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the big danger areas. And Adam, you and I were talking about it a little bit before we came live, that it's really just a matter of being patient. That snap oversteer can be caused to 2 things. One, just the way the track cambers on and off coming out of that corner. And then, as I mentioned before, spinning those rear tires. It's very, very easy to pick up that snap oversteer a little bit, and it's very hard to catch it when it happens because of just how tight this setup is. So turn 4, going to be a big hot spot tonight.
We're about to hit our qualifying. It's going to be 5 minutes of qualifying, 2 laps for the drivers, and a lone qualifying session, meaning that they will qualify in their own little private session where they don't have to worry about anybody else. But 2 laps around North Wilkesboro is very quick, which means we might see a little bit of strategy from the drivers and see who's going to go out early and who's going to go out late in this session, especially with changing track conditions. Right now, 107 degrees on track Fahrenheit, 81 degrees in the air for these drivers right now, 49% of the humidity out there for these drivers, and not much wind out there, partly cloudy for these drivers. So it's a little warm as we see the balloons rising into the sky from the center of North Wilkesboro there.
Well, and Adam, I think some of the drivers here are opting to go a little bit later, as we actually just saw the track temperature tick down by a degrees, and that's really the reason why they're going to want to try to maybe hold this out as long as possible. If you can wait and let that track temperature drop down, even if it is just a single degree Fahrenheit, you can gain lap time by doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's currently 12:06 virtual standard time on I believe this is March 1st, it looks like, for these drivers. So, April 1st in Sim for these drivers. So it is going to cool off a little bit, but I would expect it actually to warm up with the heat just a little bit right now. But we got Skip Gandy currently at the top of the timing charts, just bumping Trent Dinkle that we just saw there. There is Skip coming across the line for his second lap, still holding provisional pole by 1/1000th of a second.
Very, very tight margins. Is Abner Acosta able to pip his way up to the pole to take that away as Gandy's second lap? We'll see him improve, but not enough to get by Abner right now. The drivers who waited, it's paying off for them. Track temperature down to 105 degrees as there was your provisional pole seater checking out. Here is Tom Amasi, who is currently down in 18th.
Yeah, Amasi just coming around in 18th position, trying to improve his time from a 19.336. Amasi's got some work to do. And that being said, he's only 0.8 off a pole position, but as he comes out of the final corner, going to cross the line and improve by 0.2, so that will improve him up a couple of positions, up to 17th rather, but not too far up the charts right now.
No, but there's plenty of room to gain there for him. I think you're going to see a couple of yellows tonight, and if he's able to play his cards right on restarts, he should be able to do well. We now follow Richard Regan Jr., who works his way around the corners now, trying to see what he's got.
Interestingly enough, Richard Regan Jr. is listed based upon my recollection as an EOL driver, so I think that's why he's going to park it right here. He needs to be at the back of the field due to picking up penalty points last round, so he's going to be one of the drivers who gets an EOL tonight. Byron McDonald, however, is not one of those drivers and will be trying to set time.
Yes, he will. And Byron doing a nice little tribute here to the Rainbow Warrior. Love that scheme as he works his way out of the final corner there. Let us see what he has got. I believe that's not going to be all that great. Only 18th as Robert Besaw Jr. able to bump his way up into 11th, though.
Besaw Jr. in that 11th position, trying to improve on his second lap. As we keep watching, Byron McDonald currently 19th position, only 5 up from last of the qualifiers who set a time. Second lap does not improve, so unfortunately for Byron, 19th is the best he's going to be able to do. Still have quite a few drivers who have not taken their pits yet, or their qualifying yet.
We're getting a message that the reason for that tribute, by the way, is that I think Jeff Gordon was the last driver to win a cup race here. So that Rainbow Warrior scheme having a little bit of double meaning today as we watch Matthew Long, currently 13th. He's going to be able to improve by just a little bit, and that in a little bit will be enough to bump him up to 4th.
Great qualifying for Matthew Long that time around. Josh Conker also going to be one who's going to try and take some laps. This is his first lap around the track. A little bit high in the center through 1 and 2. I don't think this lap's going to be the best one for him. Let's see what he does in 3 and 4. Stays off the bottom line on purpose this time around, whereas the first turn looked like it was a little squirrely for him when across the line. Josh Conker crosses the line at 18.597, good enough for second position. So even with a little bit of a sketchy turn 1 and 2, doing great right now.
Doing absolutely fantastic. Here he brings the car down again through 3 and 4, trying to see if he can get a couple of tenths on it. He was green through that first sector. Is he able to improve by a couple of hundredths? He is. It's not going to be enough to take the pole away from Abner Acosta, though.
So Abner Acosta will have pole position tonight and the 2 points, the 2 bonus points that come with it. So that will be great for Abner as he's trying to move his way up the field from 4th in the standings. But that'll take us to our grid tonight. And that will be Abner Acosta on pole. As we said, Josh Conker lining up in the 2nd position. Then we've got Skip Gandy, who's going to line up in 3rd, and as well as Trent Dinkler in the 4th spot. 5th is going to be Matthew Long with Joshua Daniels in the 6th position. Row 4 is going to be Brandon Walter and Chris Hudson with your top 10, rounded out by James O'Brien down in 9th, DJ, and Taylor Stout in 10th.
Yeah, very surprising there to see James as far down as he is, but Adam Zemke is going to be starting off in 11th, followed by Pat Harvey with Mark Kalin and Robert Besaw Jr. in row 7. Mike Witt will line up 15th, and to his outside, it's Ryan Goodell, followed by Charles Sumner and Drew DeWeese with Taylor Burris and Scotty Johnson rounding out your top 20.
Then we've got Byron McDonald in 21st, Tom and Massey in 22nd. Carlos Romero is going to line up at 23rd. Next to him is going to be Bob Clement. Jose Medina is going to line up 25th with Richard Regan Jr., the first of the drivers who did not set qualifying times. Waldo Walden in 27th with Eric Papanow 28th, Daniel Alley in 29th, and Baron Hilton 30th.
Lou Christian will be 31st, followed by CM Pennington with Greg Wilson and Yao Guerrero rounding out your field.
All right, we've got a couple people on cams tonight. We're going to start off with Mark Kalin up there. Actually, that's going to be Abner Acosta, who's going to be up there at the front of the field, I believe. No, this is Josh Conker. My bad. Sorry, Josh Conker in the front of the field is up at the front there. And then we've got Mark Kalin. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, my bad. So this is officially Mark Kalin. on cams right now, so we're going to be able to be on board with him. Chris Hudson is our next driver who's got a cam lined up right there on the outside. Then we've got Josh Conker, who's up there on that front row. He's going to have a good view of the beginning of this one. And DJ, why don't you take us through the last three?
Well, we're going to have Carlos Romero, who lines up in the mid-pack here. And then after Carlos, it'll be Trent Dinkle, who's going to be lining up in 4th position. Trent in that familiar livery for himself. And then finally, we have Byron McDonald. Byron, who will be firing off here in the mid-pack as well, down in 21st. So a wide display of cams here for you today.
Absolutely. Lots of drivers on cams today, but Abner Acosta will lead them to the line with Josh Conker outside of him as the iRacing branded pace car rolls off of the line here. DJ, I don't know what to expect for the start. I know that the exit of turn 4 is difficult. How dangerous is it going to be for slipping the tires?
It's very, very easy to do. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful. Wait until about lap 2 to see them fully get up to speed.
All right, so the pace car coming around turns 3 and 4 now. See whether or not it ducks down or whether they take another lap. The answer is they will take another lap. So DJ, as you said, tire wear is going to be the thing around here. 106 degrees Fahrenheit on track when they take the green flag today, and quite a large field around North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, it's a 34-car field. And what drivers are really going to have to watch out for is just overexerting those tires, over-pushing them. You may see them get a little bit aggressive here early on, but don't be surprised if you see a couple more heads-up drivers fall down the field as they preserve their tires over a long stint.
All right, so the drivers are going to get getting the command to go on green from race control. So the pace car will pull away, and Abner Acosta will lead the field to the green flag. The pace car pulling down, and Abner Acosta has control of the field. The green flag is out, and he gets going, but it's not the greatest start. But Josh Conker along him on the outside. How strong is Josh going to try and be on the outside? The answer is he's not. He's going to try and duck down right in behind Abner Acosta and try and take that second position away.
Joshua Daniels, the other driver who was looking up on the high side, he's going to continue to run a little bit high there, but Trent Dinkle trying to get down to the inside of Josh Conker here. A couple of drivers in the back still forced to run high as it's a real hornet's nest in the back, but about the top 10 run single file.
Absolutely. That's Taylor Stout, the first car on the outside. That's on the 66 machine as he's trying to make it high line work around Brandon Walter, who's down on the bottom side. He takes it real deep into 3 and 4. Very, very deep. Can't quite get it going. It looks like we have our first caution.
We do indeed. Hearing Jose Medina had a little bit of contact there with another driver, and that is what is going to pull out the first yellow flag here today.
Absolutely. Jose Medina involved in the first incident, I believe, taking a look at it and not seeing anything from Jose's perspective.
He's definitely got some front damage to the car, though, so not entirely sure where he would have picked that up.
Oh, this was Bob Clement, actually. Bob Clement having an issue coming to the green flag, and he ended up parking it. He got his throttle stuck, I believe.
Oh, heartbreak there for Bob Clement early on, having just a mechanical gremlin that is out to ruin his day.
And this was just coming to the green flag, and he tried to, and he was just running the throttle up, it looked like, DJ.
Yeah, and had to obviously come in and pull it because you have got to be using the brakes. You cannot take this track flat out. So that ending Clement's day early, he is still in pit lane trying to fix that problem.
Absolutely. So the lights on the pace car still on right now. Abner Acosta leading after a very short moment there before we had that caution. So fortunately, it looked like everyone else was able to get through that fairly cleanly, but a couple of people with rear end damage and front end damage for Jose Medina, as we mentioned. But yeah, Brandon Walter taking some very strong risks on the outside of the track there, DJ.
Yeah, being very, very aggressive up on the outside. A little bit surprising to see that so early on here, but some drivers really, really going for it. And by the way, just an update on Jose Medina. That was a little bit of contact with Carlos Romero actually on the opening caution period on the reconnaissance lap. It's just kind of had a little bit of miscommunication, and that's what's caused the damage to Medina.
And it sounds like Greg Wilson was actually the cause of the caution. He stopped on track to try and let people by as he was exiting the pits, because he started in the pits. So that actually brought out the caution, unfortunately. So he's at the back of the field, and that means that we will not have a lucky dog for this caution.
No, they will not. Race control just reminding drivers here to keep things rolling because this is such a tight track that if you've got a damaged or stricken car, to just be very heads up about it and try to get out of the way, off the asphalt, as it were, because there is no place to hide around North Wilkesboro.
So we're about to go green once again. The car is lining up at double file right now. Abner Acosta will lead them to the green flag with Josh Conker in second. Trent Dinkle third. Skip Gandy down in fourth now. And Josh Daniels in fifth as they line up side by side. The pace car will come off and Abner Acosta will control the field truly for the first time today, as he will not have to go on green this restart. So pace car pulls off and Abner goes immediately, leaving Josh Conker in the dust a little bit. Trent Dinkle can't get alongside him, so Josh will file in behind Abner Acosta and take second position.
And that's a heads-up play there for Joshua Daniels, getting down to the inside of Skip Gandy to try to move that number 20 machine up the track a little bit to see if there's any room to play there, and it looks like he's going to be able to slide up, and indeed, that position's going to be his. Matthew Long now looking interested as well.
James O'Brien, a couple of slots back, was stuck on the high side. He falls back into line in 10th position, so he's still going. It looks like we've had another wreck in the backfield. That's CM Pennington, who stopped on the track, and that'll bring out our second caution of the day.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a surprising place for that. I gotta think there's some contact here, Adam. This is CM Pennington that you can see. That's Daniel Alley to his outside. Wonder if there was just a miscue as they come down the front straightaway.
This was not. It looks like Pennington actually just got it loose on 4, and it took him that long to actually have the wreck. So there he is hitting the inside wall. Unfortunately for Pennington, that's going to be engine damage, and that'll probably put him towards the back of the field for most of this race. We're going to ride on board and see how easy it is, DJ, for this to happen.
Yeah, you see him just bringing the car down here, gets on the throttle a little bit early. That tail starts to get happy, tries to back off the throttle and catch it. Oh, just running out of space there.
So Pennington staying on track right now. And Greg Wilson looks like he might be the one to get the lucky dog. And he will. So Greg Wilson will unlap himself here at North Wilkesboro. It's a very tight track to be able to do that. So you'll see Greg starting to make his way around the rest of the field now.
Yeah, drivers really having to be heads up about this, and it's obviously not that much space for the 17, or not that much distance for the 17 to cover to get around. It's not like he's regaining his lap at Daytona, but drivers just having to be super heads up because this is such a narrow little track.
Alrighty, so it's been a fairly short stint, just about 2 to 3 laps per green flag run, and Abner Acosta looking like he might be having a little bit of connection issues at the front of the field, so that's not something you want to have when you're leading the race. But we're headed, looks like the lights are off, potentially.
Yeah.
No, lights are still on, sorry, my bad, it was just not illuminating for me.
Well, here it comes across the line. I believe they won't. No, I don't believe they're going out, so we have one more lap of caution here at least.
So, unfortunately, no quickie cautions for these incidents, since we already have cars laps down, which extends the caution laps. So, these drivers at lap 13 have only had about 4 or 5 laps of racing, DJ.
Yeah, and they'll be a little bit thankful for that. It'll save their tires a little bit. It'll help them bring that tire stint out. They've only been going, as you said, about 12 laps here. And what that means is that they'll really be able to extend the life on these stints.
All right, so as we get ready to go green once again, the cars are going to line up double file. Abner Acosta leading Josh Conker, Trent Dinkle in third, Joshua Daniels in fourth, and Skip Gandy in fifth. We're going to ride on board with Josh Conker for the duration of this restart. Josh, we're going to see him on his triple screen setup taking a look to the left as he prepares to await Abner Acosta's departure.
Here we go.
right, here we go. The pace car is going to drop down to the inside. We're going on to leader's command. That's going to be Abner Acosta. Abner goes, and Josh is going to get the launch as well. Josh Conker diving up towards the outside. He's going to have to fall in line behind Abner Acosta. We're riding on board the back of Josh Conker as he's got heavy pressure from Joshua Daniels. So, contact between Joshua and Trent Dinkle.
Yeah, they're banging doors already. That's exactly the kind of thing we'd expected here at North Wilkesboro. Taking a very wide line through the corners. Josh Daniels just trying to keep up that momentum as much as possible.
Josh Daniels a little high through 1 and 2, trying to dime in the corner a little bit, get a good exit. But look at that, Josh Daniels and Trent Dinkle still side by side as they go into 3 and 4 once again. This is going to start burning off the tires of the guy on top, Skip Gandy, looking like he wants an opportunity but can't quite get it, as it looks like that was Josh Daniels who's able to slip down to the bottom side.
Yeah, he decides to give up the ghost there and fall back into line. I'm going to be interested to see if Skip Gandy's got anything for him now that he's been able to save a couple of laps on those tires. But we did see a big wiggle out of Gandy coming out of turn 2. You can lose it through 2 as well. Whoa! As Conker almost loses it out of 4.
Josh Conker almost losing it out of 4. He's going to lose a position there to Trent Dinkle, who's going to be able to sneak by him. Can Joshua Daniels do anything down the back straightaway? The answer is no, so it's going to be Josh Conker losing 1 position there. Update on James O'Brien in the 9th position. He can't really make his way forward. He's stuck on the outside right now. Now finally makes his way inside. We're taking a look at Brandon Walter, who's tucked in right behind him.
And you can see they're really diamonding off the corner there for O'Brien, just letting that car swing out super wide in the middle of the corner, only to chop it back down, trying to maximize the speed and gain in on Taylor Stout. But right now, it's just not working.
All right, DJ, it's a little bit of a longer run. How long do you wait to start worrying about those tires?
Oh, if you're not worrying about them now, that's a car up into the wall. Richard Regan Jr. able to get by him. I believe that was Michael Witt. But to point at him, if you're not worrying about them right now, you've already lost the battle. That is how much you have got to be conscious of it.
Absolutely. So Mike Witt there just missing the wall on the outside towards that cut in the outside of turn 3 and 4. So Mike Witt's starting to struggle a little bit himself on tires as he's got Taylor Burris looking underneath him.
Yeah, Burris able to get to the inside, but Witt able to carry some momentum around the high side. Burris again going to try to dive down low. These two don't want to be doing this for too long, as it will wear up both of their tires. The 26 again carrying that good momentum, but how long will it stick?
How long do either of these want to do it, as that tire wear, as you said, will start to affect them? Mike Witt holding strong on that high side. Taylor Burris wants the position, though. He's trying to force Witt higher and higher here, as looks like Scotty Johnson's made a move on Drew DeWeese behind as well. They're side by side.
Yeah, there they go, and it looks like Burris is able to get a nose ahead here. Is this the opportunity?
Oh, we've got a big wreck in front. That's Taylor Stout who's gone around. He snapped off a 4 and almost wrecked out people into 1, and he did wreck somebody. That's James O'Brien, our points leader.
Oh my goodness gracious, O'Brien stopped on the apron down on the inside of the track. We go to check out the replay. This is just that snap, almost identical to what we saw at a CM Pennington.
And this is bad luck for James O'Brien. It happened in front of him. There's absolutely nothing he could do. He tried to shoot the gap, but couldn't quite do so. So James O'Brien back to 23rd with nose damage. We're going to ride on board with him.
You can see there Stout, the car breaks away right about there, tries to catch it, it goes down the track, and O'Brien is just riding that, hoping and praying nothing too bad happens to him. Now, I think O'Brien was able to escape out of that with minimal damage. It doesn't look like he clipped him all that hard, but certainly down the order here, looking like he settled down around 23rd position.
All right, so we've had a little bit of a run. Is it time to take into the pits anytime soon, DJ, or are they going to keep going on these tires?
I think because of the amount of yellow flag running we've had at this point, it's not quite time to come in for tires yet. I think if we had extended this stint out to maybe lap 30 or 40, we would have thought about it, but not quite yet.
So another question for you, DJ. If you're James O'Brien, seeing that guy fly down towards the inside of the track, it looked like James kept his foot in it. Is there a reason why you do that versus trying to brake and let the guy wreck it in front of you and go underneath him there, as we see James ducking into the pits?
Well, it's basically a flip of the coin when you're coming and you have cars at speed. There's an old adage from AJ Foyt that he used to say, aim where the car is, because that ain't going to be where it is in 2 seconds time. O'Brien there didn't exactly do that. He floored it and tried to go, and I think what he was anticipating is what we saw happen to CM Pennington, the car getting caught down to the inside and stopping down on the track. What he didn't anticipate was the fact that Stout had just had more speed, and it bounced him back up the track. And what I mean by all of that, Adam, is it's really a coin flip. You have just got to make a split-second decision, and sometimes you look like a hero, and sometimes you get caught.
So interestingly enough, James O'Brien took tires but did not take any damage repair. So I'll be curious to see whether he comes down this time to take damage repair, and it looks like he will. So James O'Brien will come down tucked in behind Pennington to get some damage repair.
I like this call from O'Brien. He's down in the order. He knows he's got speed. Taking tires here at this point puts him on an alternate strategy, and that may be the only way he's able to rise up through the field.
Absolutely. So we've made it through a decent amount of laps here. Made it through 28 laps as they cross the line into the 29th lap. And the pace car lights are off. That's going to bring Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle side by side. This is Trent Dinkle's first opportunity to try and get a good launch off the line next to Abner Acosta, who has led every lap up to this point. Josh Conker lined up in third. Josh Daniels in fourth. And then it is Matthew Long in the fifth. Abner Acosta will lead them to the green one more time. He's launched right when the pace car has come in each time, and he does it again this time. Waits just a half of a second, and that gives Josh Conger a good opportunity on the bottom side. He's going to be underneath Trent Dinkle as they go into 1 and 2.
Yes, he is, but that high line proving a little bit effective there for Trent Dinkle. He's able to get in front. That's Joshua Daniels almost getting run into the wall as he tries to make the high line work.
Absolutely. Josh Conker tried to chase the car up off the bottom line. Couldn't quite get it done. Josh Daniels gets forced out to the outside. That pushes Josh Conker up to third position. Joshua Daniels has to fall behind in fourth, but now he's under pressure from Skip Gandy in the fifth position, who's trying to look to the bottom side. And then we've got Matthew Long, who's trying to look to the high side of Skip Gandy as they go into 3 and 4.
And Gandy looking a little bit twitchy again coming out of turn 2. Those tires starting to wear a little bit in the 20 machine as we ride on board with Matthew Long. Sitting popcorn to all of this, seeing if he can get a run on the outside here of the 20 of Skip Gandy.
Looks like he does this time around. He gets a little bit of a nose in there on the outside of Gandy. And he's going to take it deep into 3 and 4. They're a great run, but just washes up on the outside. Oh, he's got to be careful coming off of 4. Manages to hold on to it. Skip Gandy and Matthew Long putting on a good fight.
Putting on a very good fight, but it looks more and more...
Mark Kalen's around in the background. Mark Kalen has gone around off of turn 4. Same thing that we've seen in every single one of the wrecks up to this point. And it looks like he collected the 45. The 45 and the 84. So Eric Papineau and Waldo Walden also involved in this.
Big damage to the back of Mark Kalen's machine here. We see it as it runs around, comes into the corner here. Everything looks okay. And then the car just starts to brake on him. Oh, halfway down the front straightaway. He tried to chase that thing. There's the contact. Oh, double hit there. And a nice little dink for Byron McDonald. I'm not sure if he was able to escape with no damage.
Absolutely. So riding on board with the LibertyLive.Church machine as we head down. You see Mark Kalen snaking around there and nowhere for him to go. He just tried to hit the brakes and tried to avoid it. Couldn't quite make the move. That was Eric Papineau who we were riding on board with.
Well, and Adam, there you go. We were talking about what it's like with James O'Brien trying to figure out which way to go. Papineau taking the opposite approach there, slamming on the brakes, trying to slow everything down, and it coming out to the same end, unfortunately.
Looks like James O'Brien's in the pits again, getting some repairs done, and unfortunately, he's going to go a lap down now, Joe.
Yes, he is. So that will hurt for O'Brien, but I believe CM Pennington will be the one to get the lucky dog here. So that will put him in the lucky dog, provided he's able to hold on to it.
Yeah, it's possible that James O'Brien has too much damage. I'll have to take a look. That's not an issue for him, but Good racing up at the front of the field, DJ. We've had some great battles between Trent Dinkle, Josh Conker, Joshua Daniels, and Skip Gandy.
Yeah, we really have, and we're seeing the cream rise to the top a little bit here. Dinkle up 2, Daniels up 2, Gandy down 2, but check this out. Richard Regan Jr. back in 10th position. He is up 16 spots on the day. Now, some of that is because of attrition, Adam, but a lot of it is just because he has been able to get a great jump on these restarts and really muscle his way up through the field.
Absolutely. As the first points, as the driver with the most points in those who did not qualify, he started off in 26th position, has been able to climb his way up to 10th in all this chaos. So that's really impressive stuff around here at North Wilkesboro, DJ. Great drive from Richard Regan Jr. for sure, as we ride on board with him looking back.
For sure, for sure. And for him, this is just going to tell him what he has got to be able to do. His lights are off on the pace car. We ride on board with your pole sitter and still leader, Abner Acosta, as the form fills up 2 by 2 behind him.
Trent Dinkle on his outside with Josh Conker behind him. Joshua Daniels, second car on the outside. Then Skip Gandy round out your top 5. Abner Acosta will lead them to the line once again as the iRacing pace car gets ready to pull off in 3 and 4. Abner has gone on the drop of the pace car every single time. Does he wait this time? The answer is no. He's off like a rocket. Josh Conker with a good run on the inside once again.
Yeah, Conker able to try to get that car down to the inside of Trent Dinkle, but Dinkle forced up to the high side. He's going to be able to carry momentum there a little bit, but I don't know how long he's going to want to stay up there and wear out that right rear tire.
Abner Acosta having some real connection issues at the front. He's in threat of possibly leaving this race via the internet jack, unfortunately. But Josh Conker really putting a great run right there in front of Trent Dinkle, able to get by. But the battle for third is very tight between Trent Dinkle, Josh Daniels, and Matthew Long.
And that is Long up on the high side, really driving it around on Joshua Daniels, trying to get that car, that 78, to make it work. He's going to try to carry the momentum up and around as Daniel's going to give him that position. I think he might just not.
Yeah, good move there for Joshua Daniels, keeping his nose in, forcing Matthew Long to go around the high side. Skip Gandy looking on from that 6th position there as they chase in behind the rest of the cars. Josh Daniels stuck there on that low side. Now finally Matthew Long clears him and he can go up to the high side. Skip Gandy tries to look to the low side, can't quite get there as we ride on board with him.
No, shutting the door there is Joshua Daniels, just not letting Gandy on by. Gandy, I think, in turn, is pretty content.
Sorry, Chris Hudson just had a major save right behind them. He now gets pressure from Richard Regan Jr., who's moving his way forward up to 8th position now for Richard Regan Jr. Make that 7th as he makes his way past Chris Hudson, riding on board with Richard Regan.
And you can see there on that inboard camera there just how much wheels. So watch this here. Look how much he's having to put in at the end. That snap back and forth. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Very, very hard to control these cars, and Hudson is doing a great job to keep this together.
Hudson with his triple screen setup trying to make that low line work, but it's just really struggling with those rear tires. I think everyone's kind of hoping that they're going to have an opportunity to come into the pits soon. So I think it's just trying to hang on to the car at this point, TJ. It looks like everyone's really starting to struggle, but Chris Hudson down in 8th position, and it looks like everyone's starting to back off, and that's another caution. Trying to look and see who it is.
I'm not quite sure. It may be Mark Kalin again, who had an issue. That car very, very damaged.
Yes, that was Mark Kalin again. He was tucked under none other than James O'Brien, got loose into 1 and 2, and ends up at the bottom of the track.
Yeah, so there you see that's O'Brien up to the high side, Kalin down low. Able to keep it together there out of 4. Oh, just dove it in with too much speed. Not enough downforce on that car to keep it pushed into the ground, and it just spun on him.
So that should put James O'Brien back on the lead lap as our lucky dog. So riding on board with Wilson, Greg Wilson, who was tucked in behind. And you see, Kalin just gets out of the bottom of the track and the car goes on him. Wilson barely managing to dodge it.
Barely by the skin of his teeth able to get away from that. So Wilson will be buying lottery tickets tonight, rest assured.
Yeah, so unfortunately 2 caution points for Mark Kalin there. That's going to be tough for him next round. James O'Brien does get the lucky dog and goes around the field, so he'll be able to get onto the back of the lead lap once again after getting some of that damage repaired. But Abner Costa's been pretty unflappable, I mean, minus his internet, at the front of the field.
He truly has. He's just been able to get the good restarts here and get themselves ongoing, as we will tick over here on lap 50, I believe, by the time we get going back under green. Doesn't look like any of our leaders are coming down pit lane, and indeed they're not. So this is 47 laps for them on these tires, 48 laps now as they cross over the line. They are going to be getting pretty worn, but you can see just how important these tires are is because they're not coming down. They want to save them for the end of the race, Adam.
Absolutely. So Josh Conker, he's really had a good opportunity to get into that second position, but hasn't really had anything to challenge Abner Acosta with since the beginning of this race. So I think he's going to have to hope for that mistake from Abner, DJ. But these drivers definitely, many of them, I mean, everyone down to 22nd, as you said, has not taken a pit stop. So it's very, very stressful driving for these folks as they're starting to get on in age with tires. Lights off of the pace car this time.
Yes, lights are off, so the field will reform double file again here. Be interested to see if Abner Acosta changes his approach to the restart now that he's got Conker on his outside, and rest assured, Conker knows what his tricks are.
So Abner Acosta will lead the field to the line once again today. He's the only driver who has done so today. Josh Conker lining up on his outside with Trent Dinkel behind him. Matthew Long, second car on the outside, and then Josh Daniels rounds out your top 5. The pace car pulls off and Abner goes immediately. Josh Conker tries to get a good run. Trent Dinkel spinning the tires a little bit on the bottom side. He has to fall behind Josh Conker. It's side by side between Matthew Long and Josh Daniels.
And that's Matthew Long able to get by Daniels, but he wants a little bit more. He's going for Trent Dinkel as well as they dive down through 3 and 4. Really trying to hold that Dirty South Racing machine to the outside, but Dinkel's going to shut the door.
Josh Daniels dives down to the bottom side to try and get underneath Matthew Long as well. And who's that going to the high side? That's Richard Regan Jr. all the way up to 6th position from his starting place of 26. So up 20 spots for him today as he's moving forward. Chris Hudson just had Skip Gandy on the high side, but Skip able to drop in behind. But look at that. Richard Regan's so strong on the high side, almost making this pass on Daniels.
Almost making the pass on Daniels, courtesy of a big slide for the 77 coming out of turn 4. Able to get it out and done. So that is Regan up into the top 5. He's now got his sights set on Matthew Long.
Regan's got speed. The question is, does he have consistency? He's now made himself up into the top 5. Can he get any further up the field? Richard Regan Jr. doing good to move himself forward into the field. He's got Matthew Long ahead of him, and Matthew Long's been a pretty stout defender all day today.
Yes, he certainly has, able to just hold on to that position. We've seen him really work on the high side quite well, so that may be his saving grace if Richard Regan Jr. is able to get that nose down to the inside.
Everyone pretty much strung out. Oh, we've had a slip up there from Chris Hudson as Robert Bisa Jr. goes to his outside. Chris Hudson looking like slipped up off of turns 1 and 2. Bisa trying to make the pass work on the outside now.
Trying to make it work here. We ride on board with Taylor Burris, who's sitting back in the popcorn position. That is Bisa way up high, trying to make that line work. He's got the momentum. Is he going to be able to cut down in front of Chris Hudson? I think he's got it if he wants it.
Oh, we've had a big gaggle happen behind. Looks like that was Eric Papanow who just had a big moment coming off of 1 and 2. He's now recovered the car, but there is almost 4 wide going around the track as we take a look. That's the damaged Lou Christensen, I believe. No, that's the 26 of Mike Witt, who's got no front nose.
Yeah, Mike Witt and the 45, they're also not having a front nose. That's Eric Papano, so this is very much the battle of damaged race cars in the back. Witt able to pull out and pull ahead, though, but Papano trying to hold the outside over the 21 as much as possible.
Absolutely. So all these cars damaged and probably not handling very well at all. So all of them trying to make recovery drives themselves. Just remember that our championship leader, Byron McDonald, O'Brien is chucked into that battle as well, so he's having to make his way forward.
Yeah, and that is not what he wants to see. He wants these cars to get out of his way. Yes, he's got some front-end damage to that machine. Ooh, that was a big, big brake lock up from there in front.
Oh, the 21's wrecked ahead of them. Oh, and O'Brien's caught in it.
Oh, big coming together there. That's O'Brien, that's Christian, that's the 927 of Bob Clement. A lot of drivers caught out.
This started with the 21 of Lou Christensen from pretty much the back straightaway all the way through turn 4. Lou trying to save it the entire time, never locks down the brakes, and ends up spitting up the track, and a huge coming together behind them as the 927 comes in like a bowling ball afterward.
And that was the 17 of Greg Wilson that you saw up on its roof there. Let's ride on board with CM Pennington. You can really see from the catbird seat this whole incident develop.
So just really, really bad luck for our points leader at this race. This is probably going to be a drop race for him, unfortunately. But riding on board with Pennington, there you see the wreck happening ahead, and he's able to dodge it by going to the low side. Not many people were that lucky.
No, they were not. That takes out quite a few drivers here. The field's starting to thin. I'm not seeing any of the leaders deciding to come down pit lane, but it does look like Michael Witt is one of the drivers who will be opting to pit. I've also seen Taylor Stout, Eric Papineau, and Byron McDonald come down.
Many, many, many cautions here today. This is a very tough track, and drivers seem to... It just seems like they're trying to take off a little bit more than they can chew when the car comes out from under them, DJ. Lots of people trying to save it while maintaining position, and it usually ends in a wreck.
You're completely right, Adam. What you've got to do in those positions is one of two things. Just try to feather off the throttle. You don't immediately want to dump the throttle, or that's going to throw off the weight transfer in the car even worse. Or you just want to drive it like it's a dirt car. Just kind of run with the skid a little bit. Try not to overcorrect it. You can really tell drivers both in real life and here in the sim who have experience running dirt that if they get into a slide like that, they're more likely to hold it around the corner.
6 cautions so far for 32 laps for these drivers. That's half of the race distance so far, DJ, that's been run under caution so far.
And that may be a little bit of an explanation as to why, despite having 63 laps on these set of tires, none of our leaders opting to come down pit lane.
We've had some opportunities for racing today. We've had a lot of good racing up towards the front of the field. A lot of good racing towards the back of the field, too. Just a little bit of mistakes here and there in the mid-pack that's caused a couple of incidents. But so far, when we've been able to go green, it's been good racing. And yeah, I mean, what, about 30 laps on these tires. We're looking at potentially a timed race if we get 2 more cautions. It's going to be, I mean, we're 30 minutes into this race. That would be a third of the race distance. I mean, it'd be very interesting to hold on to tires that entire time.
Well, I mean, the flip of it is, Adam, is the track position is so very, very key around here that I don't think a lot of drivers want to sacrifice it to come in and get a fresh set of boots.
Abner Acosta will lead them to the line with Josh Conker outside, Richard Regan Jr. and Trent Dinkle side by side behind them. Then it's Matthew Long and Joshua Daniels. Abner will lead them to the line again. Pretty sure he's going to do the same thing he's done all day. Let's find out. He does take the jump immediately. Josh Conker, a little bit less of a good start this time, but still has the gap over Trent Dinkle. And look at that, almost to the bumper of Abner Acosta. He has to back off a little bit, giving an opportunity to Trent Dinkle, who can't quite make the move. Still side by side between Dinkle and Jr.
Dinkle getting very squirrely there, coming off of turn 2, trying to get it out the best that they can, and it looks like Richard Regan Jr. is going to be able to hold on to that position. Behind then, we've got a gaggle with Robert Bisson trying to make it 3 wide to the outside of Matthew Long and Joshua Daniels.
And somehow they're able to keep it together. Joshua Daniels coming out the best of that, but Robert Bisson Jr., wow, that was a risky move from him as we ride on board with one of our drivers tucked in behind us, Chris Hudson, who we're riding on board with the number 43 machine, doing an excellent job trying to just survive in this pack.
Absolutely, Adam, and that is the word, survive at this point. You just want to keep going until your clock ticks over. So you see Hudson there again fighting that car off of turn 4. You see how low he is on the track. That's not normally the line you'd want to take, but that's just because he doesn't want to be fighting the car any more than he has to.
I just took a peek at who's tucked in behind Abner Acosta, and it is not Josh Conker. That's Richard Regan Jr. who's made his way up to the second position. Richard Regan Jr. nearly completing a last to first challenge here at North Wilkesboro so far.
This is an inspired run from the 46, able to get by Josh Conker. He is up 24 positions on the day. The private label Team Hype driver just absolutely driving the wheels off that 46.
Great job for sure for Richard Regan Jr. Abner Acosta still about a second up the road from Richard Regan Jr. He's got some work to do, but most of the battles starting to fade out a little bit. The driver's definitely starting to feel the tire wear around here, DJ.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that we were a little bit worried about, is when the tire wear came off, they will really and truly struggle to get any moves done unless they can force the driver in front into a little bit of a mistake.
Absolutely. So good battles all around the track right now, but currently we're taking a look back towards the pack. This is between a couple of drivers. This is Byron McDonald, who we're riding on board with right now, and Taylor Stout, who falls off towards the back of that. Byron McDonald trying to make some work of himself, trying to improve his position. He's got new tires under him as of 27 laps ago, so he's trying to move his way up the field, and Shade falls on the track now, DJ.
Yes, it does, and that is a welcome relief because it has the track temperature has risen to a balmy 112 degrees Fahrenheit, so hopefully the shade's going to help him out as we continue to ride on with McDonald. He tries to take a look to the outside here of Eric Papineau, and that is going to be Jose Medina directly in front of them that boxed in McDonald just a little bit.
I don't understand how all these drivers are so calm on these cams. We see it all over the racing when we have the cams. These drivers look like they're just going out for a Sunday drive when they're actually battling side by side and in very intense packs right now. You can see Byron McDonald trying to make his way around the outside of Papineau, can't get it done.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, Adam, because I know when I drive, there are white knuckles up and down my hands as I drive it around. It is very, very tough. McDonald taking a big look to the inside, but he's not going to be able to get it done. Tries to diamond off the corner, but I think that's going to open up the door to the 66 behind him of Taylor Stout.
Yeah, a little bit of a lockup there for McDonald going into 1 and 2. So he's going to be stuck on the high side right now as Taylor Stout trying to make that pass. He's able to get it done as they continue to move forward. I can report that Josh Conker lost third position to Trent Dinkle. Josh Conker's tires really starting to give way for him. He's starting to go backwards, DJ.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely surprised by that. Conker's been very, very aggressive. Remember, he fell back a little bit right at the opening restart and had to fight his way forward. Dinkle, on the other hand, has just been content to sort of sit behind and wait and let things happen, and that's not going to help at all. That's Josh Conker catching the outside wall, diving into 3.
Absolutely. So Josh Conker is now carrying a little bit of damage for him. Fortunately, it's a short track, but he's starting to look very loose coming off of 3 and 4, DJ. Trent Dinkle now trying to hold off Josh Conker, who wants to get that third position back.
A little bit of a smile there on Josh Conker's face as he tries to work the car around through the corner here coming out of 4. This is where you've got to watch it. You can see the counter steer that Conker's having to put into the car. He's going to have a little bit of a look to the inside, just seeing if he can get Dinkle to bite on anything, but Trent is too seasoned for that. He's not letting him go.
Absolutely. Ooh, look at this. Trent Dinkle, a little bit squirrely coming off of 1 and 2. Josh Conker took a peek to the bottom side, couldn't quite get it done. Looks like Matthew Long has lost a position to Joshua Daniels tucked in behind. We're going to ride on board with, I believe, and we're riding on board with Trent Dinkle, who's tucked in ahead of Josh Conker. So quite a few battles happening around track.
Yeah, and you can really see, I love seeing these angles, just how much opposite lock the drivers are having to put in coming off of 2 and 4. And Dinkle giving us a great example there of that iRacers lean as he pokes his head to the inside. This is Ryan Goodell here in the 14, the Whataback Racing driver trying to work on Chris Hudson.
Absolutely. Ryan Goodell trying to move forward and work on Chris Hudson as the battle between Besaw Jr. and Josh Daniels continues ahead of them. Wow, that was very slow off of 4 for Josh Daniels. Skip Gandy, who's fallen back from 5th down to 8th. Look at them, how tight they are coming off the corner.
And I think Gandy had to check himself up there a little bit. That's whose nose we ride on board with right now. Let's see if he has to again. He's getting so close. He's almost bump drafting here on a short track.
Absolutely. There's got to be some room that you can find to get around these guys, but look at this. 77 Josh Daniels just does not feel confident to get the power down off of the corner. Chris Hudson just having a little bit of a slip-up moment off of 1 and 2 as well.
Yes, he is. Gandy almost giving a little bit of a bump and run there to Joshua Daniels, but he's going to be able to have the inside line as these tires fade away. That inside line is going to be all the more important. And indeed, look at that. Look at the run that Gandy's able to have. One corner, one move. He's got the position.
Absolutely. So now Josh Daniels has to find his way to the bottom side, but Chris Hudson doesn't want to let him do it. Chris Hudson looking to the inside of Josh Daniels right now. He takes a little bit of more of a conservative braking, forcing Josh Daniels still to the high side as Chris Hudson looks underneath. He's going to try and power it down off of the corner. Can't quite do so. Ryan Goodell trying to tuck it behind him, looking on board with Chris Hudson as he's trying to take the inside line.
He's going to try to force it down there, see if he can run up the track just a little bit to prevent any momentum from Joshua Daniels, but that's not going to happen. It is Hudson now down to the inside. Once again, these two just absolutely sawing at it. Momentum's going to come back to favor Daniels here unless Hudson can get up and block his path, and that's exactly what he does.
And now Ryan Goodell trying to tuck underneath Daniels. Daniels just stuck on that high side, getting freight trained by all the drivers coming underneath him. So Josh Daniels, in the space of about 5 laps, loses 3 positions.
And that's what can happen in these later stage runs when the action really starts to intensify here a little bit. If you get stuck on the high lane, you can get really, really caught out and see 3, 4, 5 cars just stream on by you.
Update for the front of the field. Abner Costa out to the lead by the tune of about 1.5 seconds over Richard Regan Jr., whose pace has started to fall off towards the back end of this run. Trent Dinkle about 7/10 behind him, with Josh Conker, Matthew Long, and Robert Bisson Jr. about evenly split for the top 6 positions for your drivers today.
Yeah, so that top of the field spreading out a little bit, but some good battles back in the back here. That is Taylor Burris right now defending from Scotty Johnson. Johnson really driving that car up on the super high line.
And now he does the over-under here. Taylor Burris has to take an early entry into 3 and 4 to try and cover him off. Scotty Johnson trying to be conservative through 3 and 4, but these rear tires just not wanting to grip at all. No run off of the back straight. He's going to try that outside line again around Taylor Burris. Look how deep he takes it in, DJ.
Really is, and that's one way to sort of avoid any tire wear. It's almost like he's throwing a slider line there, the way he's running it up the track like that, as you see him try to cut back on him. Here he comes again. Big wiggle out of Burris.
Burris trying to hang on to this position, trying to hang on to the car. The question is, DJ, when are these guys going to come into the pits? Looks like Scotty Johnson finally gets Taylor Burris cleared. Can he close the deal? He takes it deep into 3 and 4 to try and do so. And I don't think Burris has the traction to get him off the corner, and the answer is no.
No, he does not. Momentum coming back to favor there, Scotty Johnson. And Adam, to answer your question, I think you've got to try to wait for another yellow flag. You cannot run the risk of pitting under green here. This is such a short lap. You will go 2-3 laps down if you're lucky.
I make the guess at 3 laps myself. It looks like Burris really struggling with a tight front end right now. Just can't get the car to turn off of the exit of the corners. Pat Harvey saw what Joshua Daniels and Scotty Johnson did, trying to do the same thing as Burris slides a little bit off the corner again, looking back at the 54 car, who's under some pressure right now. This is Josh Conker.
We're back on Burris here as he tries to hold on to that position now with Pat Harvey breathing down his neck. He's going to keep running that line that we saw Scotty Johnson run. Goes super high, looks for maybe a little bit of a crossover, but a wiggle off of the corner is going to prevent him from doing anything. We got to go back to Long, though, because he's side by side.
Josh Conker trying to hold on the outside, but Matthew Long has been able to get to the inside of him. Trying to make the pass work on the inside is Long, powering down off the corner. Whoa, Conker almost hitting the outside wall yet again. Robert Bisson Jr. and Skip Gandy looking on from behind, but Conker just does not have the traction to get the power down off of the corners in the same way that Long does.
No, he really doesn't. He's able to get something of a run there off of turn 4, but I've got to imagine here that that is going to be Long able to get him. No, Conker surprising me here that he's got it, but there he loses out. Now Bisson Jr. is going to be the next one on the list.
Bisson Jr. on the bottom side. Conker definitely with contact on the outside wall that time around. You saw it clearly from the helicopter shot. Skip Gandy now to the bottom side as Conker now tries to just recover that machine.
Tries to recover to the best of his abilities. He, I think, wants to just get down low as quickly as possible, and there he is. He is able to get it down, but not after losing 3 positions there and finding himself in 7th place.
Tough break for Josh Conker. He's just been pushing these tires so hard. He's been very aggressive on restarts, trying to get down to that bottom line. And after 6 restarts, it finally wore on him. Unfortunately, Josh Conker dropping down to the 7th position after being on the outside of the leader on opposite pole for this restart, DJ.
Yeah, and I think, as we said earlier, Adam, that's really just a result of him overusing the tires early on. You've got to be thinking about tire conservation from the drop of the green flag, and if you do not do that, this is what can happen to you and come back to bite you.
Riding on board with Carlos Romero, who is battling with Mike Witt. They're battling for the lucky dog position as they've just been passed by Abner Acosta, our leader. So they've got some work to do. CM Pennington's the next car to get passed by Abner Acosta. He's not really a factor, but Mike Witt trying some different lines here to try and get himself around Carlos Romero.
Well, with as damaged as that car is for Mike Witt, I can't tell you that I'm exactly surprised. It might as well be trying to work a little bit higher, a little bit lower, a little bit of something to just see if there's any speed at all to be had.
He's definitely trying to get that done, but they're starting to get passed by the lead lap cars. And while blue flags are only advisory here in the PRL series, it's still a gentlemanly thing to do to let the leaders try and get their way by. But speaking of leaders, Richard Regan Jr. is going to have to figure out his way through this very complicated mess of lapped vehicles, and he might have to do it 3 wide.
Yeah, he might, because Romero's stubbornly down on the inside, and that's, woo, almost contact there for Regan Jr.
Regan Jr. getting on the radio, not happy about that particular incident. I don't know how he's going to find his way through here, but this has brought Trent Dinkle right to the rear bumper of Regan Jr. and Matthew Long along with it.
Yes, it has. So this traffic causing a battle to erupt here, although Regan Jr. able to get on by. And there, the 44 going up high of CM Pennington. Dinkle not able to fully capitalize, but he can smell a little bit of blood in the water there from Richard Regan Jr.
Absolutely. As they start lapping these lap vehicles, I think this is the time when the caution's probably going to come out. You saw it almost happen there with Richard Regan Jr., DJ. Such dangerous driving from these drivers. But Dinkle trying to cling on to the back of Richard Regan Jr. This is the best opportunity he's had in a while. Matthew Long, a little bit of a slip coming off of the rear tires through 1 and 2. This is the battle for 2nd position.
Yes, it is, and Dinkle now closing in. They don't have any lap traffic here for a little bit, so they're just going to have to duke this out on track. Drivers really starting to get worried here about tire wear, I think, as they are a full 106 laps into this stint. Now, remember, a lot of that was under caution, but still, when you are running in 115-degree temperatures, it does not help.
Not at all. So, unfortunately for them, they've got a lot of work to do. Besaw Jr. just took a look at Matthew Long on the outside of 1 and 2, so that didn't end up working for him. Look at Trent Dinkle. Look how much he's wheeling that car to try and hang on to it right now. These cars absolutely spent on their tires. Besaw Jr. to the inside of Long behind Dinkle.
Yep, just trying to get it a little bit if he can. Dinkle trying to see what he can do up front, but Besaw Jr. having to hold off Matthew Long here to the best of his abilities.
So now it definitely is that tire game that you talked about, DJ. Who has saved anything at this point? I can report Chris Hudson has just climbed up to the back of Josh Conker, who continues to fall back a little bit. Chris Hudson, look how much more center corner speed he has, DJ. He's got a lot of speed versus Josh Conker, who looks like he's just trying to hang on.
Well, and remember, this is Hudson, who has had some damage. You can see on the right quarter panel of that car, he's clearly come into contact with some cars in the wall, and he has been fighting that car all day long. And if he has got more speed than Conker, you know Conker is in a world of hurt.
The traffic is not treating Richard Regan Jr. very well. He's fallen back by 2.5 seconds to Abner Acosta. And this has really started to stretch out that lead gap. Now, of course, that will accordion back together if we get another caution. But all this green flag running has been really helping the drivers a little bit. Now, that being said, it hasn't helped out the clock. I think another caution is probably going to put us over into a timed race, as we're just approaching halfway of the laps in this race, and just over halfway if it were a timed race at 46 minutes.
Right, and so drivers will have that factored into their calculations. Now that we know where it is, if we get that other yellow flag, they now know, okay, this is a timed race. I think I just heard a call out over the radio, Skip Gandy saying that he was going to come down pit lane. So we may have some green flag stops starting to fire off here.
We're just taking a look at James O'Brien, checking in on him. Just not having a great day. Still one lap down. In fact, the last car one lap down, unfortunately for him. Taking a look at Skip Gandy. Is he going to actually come to the pits? The answer is through turns 3 and 4. No, he stays out.
That may have just been an errant thank you to getting around some lap traffic, and I misheard it, so apologies to our viewers there.
Very interesting strategies, very interesting racing going on right now. Taking a look at the battle for third between Trent Dinkle and Robert Besaw Jr. Dinkle's fallen back of Richard Regan Jr. just a little bit as Richard Regan Jr. struggles with Tom and Massey up ahead, but Besaw has been really cutting through the traffic on these old tires and doing so quite well. He's going to fall afoul of Tom and Massey a little bit right there. He's going to try and take it deep into 3 and 4. Has to slam on the brakes very hard to avoid a diving Trent Dinkle.
Yeah, Dinkle really starting to get a little bit aggressive there to try to do that. Besaw Jr., though, because of that checkup, he's now going to find Matthew Long behind him, but he's able to run away a little bit there and at least alleviate some of the pressure.
Absolutely. So the battle here for the third position continuing to be a hot one. As Skip Gandy looks on from 6th, Josh Conker continuing to fall back. Chris Hudson has not been able to make that pass. I think the tires at this point are pretty well spent for all these drivers. There's a little bit of battling going on in the mid-pack between Pat Harvey and Taylor Burris. As Pat Harvey trying to go around the outside of Taylor Burris. This is for 12th position on track.
Yeah, and that's Harvey really driving the car in. You can see it almost dancing there on the back straightaway. These bumps starting to play a little bit of havoc there to the 67, but he's just going to try to carry some momentum on the high side here. Burris, in turn, is just focusing on his own line. He's not trying to outdrive the 67 here. He just... Wow, is that Burris around?
He hits the inside wall. He has not yet wrecked officially the car. He hangs on to it. I think we're going to stay green here.
I think we are indeed, and that is some very heads-up driving from the 666 there of Daniel Alley and the 9 of James O'Brien to be able to avoid that re-enter there from the 40 of Taylor Burris.
This is exactly what the pro drivers keep fearing, DJ, is this snap that happens, and it's almost unsavable. You can see him trying to keep it out of the wall. Just a slight touch. I don't think that's going to affect him too much, but my goodness, that was a scary moment for Burris.
It really and truly was. He is very lucky that he was able to hold on to the car, but he lost a whole heap of positions in that run. He's now all the way back down in 18th.
Absolutely. Another driver who's trying to make a move is Scotty Johnson, as we're taking a look at him trying to battle with Joshua Daniels for the 10th position. Josh Daniels, while he was charging earlier on, much like Josh Conker, has fallen off the pace as the tires have gotten worn over this very, very long one. 123 laps on these tires. Who says that this new tire compound doesn't hold up?
Indeed, it is certainly holding up, and that is also with some damage to the rear end of the 07 there that you can see. We are hearing reports that this is not going to be a fuel-limited race. The cautions should be good. It's all just going to depend on that tire choice.
Tire strategy, the name of the game for these drivers right now, as we take a look at Josh Johnson, who's going to be a little bit compromised off of 1 and 2 by Mike Witt, who's staying to the high side. My goodness. Very tight racing here for that position. Also very tight racing for third once again, as Trent Dinkle is under heavy pressure from Robert Besaw Jr. and Matthew Long once again. But it just really does not seem like anybody can really get any traction down, and nobody wants to come to pit road either, DJ.
No, as I said, you lose 2, 3, maybe even 4 laps if you do it, and we've seen it's tricky to get past around here, so you do not want to run that risk. Nobody is going to blink here, I think. They are going to run these tires until they absolutely explode.
Oh, we've got a wreck happening. Looks like Taylor Stout down on the bottom of the track, and the number 4 machine, that's Carlos Romero.
All right, we're going to go check out the replay here. The number 4 of Romero. What exactly happened to him there as he comes through 3 and 4?
A little bit of ghost contact with our leader, Abner Acosta.
Oh, my goodness. Yep, there it is. Ooh, Acosta gets a big thwap to it.
Absolutely. Unfortunately for those in second and back, they were quite a ways back up that. Didn't pick up any damage. But we're going to take a look at Stout, who did.
And this is on board with Taylor here. You can see the contact happening up in front of him. Barely avoids it and then just gets a little sideways coming through the grass as a result of that avoidance.
Pit stops have begun for our leaders. Everyone, I believe, is going to be coming in this time. Abner Acosta down to the front of the field. There you see pit lane. It's a complete disaster.
It is indeed everybody trying to come in here and get their tires changed.
Oh, who is that? Brandon Walter. I think he only took 2.
No, he called out over the radio. He missed his box. It is a very, very tight and cramped pit lane, and I believe he missed his box on tires.
So he did. So did Daniel Alley. Missed his box as well, and I think if those are the only 2. So unfortunately, Walter having to come in again.
Yeah, and there you can see it. He will be now coming down, so that's going to absolutely ruin him. But up at the front of the field, these drivers are able to breathe a little bit easier, and we as viewers are going to be a little bit more excited because this means I think they are going to be a little bit gloves off in terms of battling here, Adam.
Absolutely. We're not yet ticked over into a timed race quite yet, but we're getting there. James O'Brien now becomes the first car a lap down, so if there's another quick caution, our points leader may be back on the lead lap somehow. But right now, Abner Acosta beat everyone off of pit road with Trent Dinkel tucked in behind him. He was able to beat Richard Regan Jr. off of the pit lane. Richard Regan Jr. with an extra second in the box, so his pit crew not working well for him today.
No, they were not. I wonder if that was maybe a little bit of damage repair that needed to get going as they come around. We're actually hearing, by the way, the tire life on these cars and these tires are completely holding up. A lot of life left in the tires, Adam. It's just a matter of massive overheating.
Interesting. So if you drove slower to start with, you'd have a lot. Wow. So if you have a slower average speed over the course of the first couple laps, you'd have a lot more of a faster average speed over a long stint. That's something interesting to keep in mind for the future. But the lights are out on the pace car. Abner Acosta will lead them to the line with Trent Dinkel in second, Richard Regan Jr. third, Robert Saw Jr. in fourth, and Matthew Long in fifth. A bit of a shuffle in front of the field, but the pace car is going to peel off, and Abner Acosta jumps immediately. Trent Dinkel, not the greatest start. Richard Regan Jr. down on the bottom side, able to make it run.
Able to make the run and hold that car down in there to the best of his ability. It looks like Trent Dinkel trying to avoid getting freight trained. He's going to be able to hold that off and keep Robert Saw Jr. behind him, but that's the 54 of Josh Conker starting to make some moves.
Nobody's used to how grippy these tires are right now. It's fresh tires for the first time this entire race. A little bit of rear-end contact there between Matthew Long and Josh Conker, I believe. Josh Conker just making rear-end contact. We've had another wreck. That's Scotty Johnson around. The 07 has gone around on the front straightaway, and this was off of turn 4. Yet another early turn 4 wreck.
Yeah, and I think this was just a little bit of that snap oversteer. Drivers getting a little over aggressive at the start of the race. There it starts to go. That's a little bit more of what I was anticipating to see out of cautions there coming out of turn 4.
So at the moment, it is nip and tuck as to whether it will be a timed race or a lap race. We've crossed over the halfway point as far as laps are concerned. We are just now entering the 56th minute of this race, so 34 minutes left to go in the race, just over halfway on the laps. Doesn't sound good, DJ, but I mean, we're not out of the realm of possibility of doing it on laps quite yet.
Not entirely if they stay green to the end, but as the old adage is, cautions breed cautions. I think these guys need to get a couple of good green flag laps under their belt, and then they may be able to go. Seeing some drivers in the back holding on to take tires coming down pit lane to get some damage repair.
And that will bring James O'Brien around as the lucky dog. There you see him smashing around the outside of the track. That brings our points leader back onto the lead lap for the second time today. after his second wreck. So it took him a while to get there, but he will be tucked in behind Byron McDonald on the lead lap.
All right, so he will be back into a position to try to be able to gain back up here to the best of his ability and just try to salvage as many points as possible. That is what he is looking for here today.
Just a report that Adam Zemke has returned to the track after 18 minutes of repairs, so he's 52 laps down in 29th position. Lou Christensen and Bob Clement are officially retired, with Greg Wilson having been in the pits for about half an hour at this point. Tom Massey did return to the track as well, 37 laps down. So, and then Sam Pennington is the next car up from Thomas Massey in 28th, Pennington in 27th, 3 laps down. That's the beginning of the cars who've had a little bit less trouble than Massey and Zemke.
Yeah, just a little bit less trouble, but as we reform here, getting ready to go green next time by, I believe. Adam, I've got to say the real story here is just Abner Acosta's ability to be able to hold this up as much as possible. He is just absolutely dominating up front, never letting anything go.
Absolutely. Abner just getting good restarts has been the key to the game for Abner Acosta. Now he's got Richard Regan Jr. on his outside. Richard Regan has been the strongest driver over this entire time, 24 positions up from his starting position. Genuinely impressive for sure. So as we come to the green flag yet again, Abner Acosta will lead them to the line. There's not been another driver who has led a restart today. Richard Regan Jr. in second, Trent Dinkle in third, Robert Besaw Jr. in fourth, and Josh Conker has made his way back up to fifth position. He'll line up inside of Matthew Long. Here we go, ready for the restart once again. Abner Acosta will lead them to the line. Pace car comes off, and he goes immediately. Richard Regan Jr. can't beat him off the line, but can he beat Trent Dinkle down into turn 1? The answer is yes, and we go sliding number 3 machine into the outside wall. That was very, very deep for Robert Besaw Jr., and major wreck behind him.
Oh, and Matthew Long involved in an incident unto himself. He spun it coming off of the corner. Lots of problems there all the way around. This was Besaw just being a little bit over-aggressive, Adam.
Absolutely, just being a little bit over-aggressive, and Matthew Long made contact with a couple of other vehicles. Pat Harvey was in there as well. Josh Conker picked up some damage, so this is actually our big one today.
Yes, it is. A lot of drivers collected. You can see all of the calamity that was. Besaw tried to get it back going again and then was rear-ended from behind. Oh my goodness gracious, just absolute craziness. Keep an eye here on the 28, by the way. This is what I was talking about. It looked like he just lost it after the incident. I think he may have tried to overcorrect coming out of the corner after he saw the spin. Yep, and then loses it on his own.
Absolutely, put a little bit too much left steering rack into it, broke off the rear traction, and then major contact with the 67 machine of Pat Harvey. So very unfortunate for all of them. We're gonna take a look at the 3's wreck again, because look how deep he took it into the corner. I think he might have accidentally put a little bit too much steering angle into it when he was hitting the brakes. Either that or he just locked up the throttle by accident.
Yeah, and you've got to almost feel sorry for him there, as he was doing exactly what he should have done after he was wrecked, just holding the brakes and being treated a little bit like a pinball by the other cars that were coming in behind him, just binking and bonking around.
So you're wondering, James O'Brien made up 5 positions on that restart, up to 17th spot. So he's already progressed through the field just a little bit on that particular restart. So a good restart for our points leader, but he's a long way off of the lead, and we are now officially into a timed race. It has ticked over. We've now got half an hour left, actually 29 minutes left in this race, and the predictions are that there's no way that we can make it to the end from here on laps alone.
No, this will be a timed race from here on out. And so, as I said, that will factor into the driver's mentality here as we go forward.
So there's a couple of cars that are trapped between the pace car and Abner Acosta right now. Taylor Stout, Adam Zemke, and Joshua Daniels. They will be let through when we go to too wide once again. Richard Regan Jr. had a good restart that time by, and actually he saw the fast approaching number 3 machine of Robert Brisa Jr. and took to the inside a little bit, almost made contact with Abner Acosta, it looked like, DJ, but was able to avoid getting wrecked there. And here we go, 2 wide. So coming to the line, it will be Abner Acosta that will lead them. Richard Regan Jr. on the outside. Trent Dinkle tucked in behind as he was before, with Josh Conker having moved up to 4th position. Skip Gandy regains 5th spot, and that'll be your top 5 going to the restart. Abner Acosta leading once again to the green flag today. It's going to be the same old story, and the answer is yes. He launches immediately and catches Richard Regan Jr., who got a little bit of wheel spin that time around, and Trent Dinkle get underneath him. The answer is no, not this time around. Josh Conker trying to make it work on the outside.
Conker doing a good job to try to hold that in there as much as possible, but Dinkle, I think, is going to try to slide up the track. No, Conker able to have just a little enough straightaway to allow that to happen. Dinkle able to get ahead, though, and pull that car ahead. Conker's going to have to regather and rethink about how to do this.
Absolutely. The top 4 are now single file, with 5th place being very side by side right now, as we've got Skip Gandy trying to make a hit work on Josh Conker. Can't quite do so this time around. Oh, deep dive there. I believe that was from Pat Harvey, who tried to take it deep to make it past Mark Kalin. Couldn't quite do so. Mark Kalin up to 9th position after being involved in 2 earlier wrecks. Great drive from Mark, but now side by side for 2nd position between Richard Regan Jr. and Trent Dinkle.
Exactly, as they continue to go down. Dinkle trying to get very close there to the back of Regan Jr. If he makes too aggressive of a move, though, I've got to imagine that Josh Conker is going to be very interested to come up from behind.
Absolutely, Josh Conker looking on. Oh, a little bit of a skip there from Skip Gandy as he slid across the track through 1 and 2. These tires starting to bleed off a little bit already. Josh Conker taking it wide. Look at this, Skip Gandy. Well, he's now pushed up high by Chris Hudson, who's trying to take it down from the inside. Actually, that's Ryan Goodell who just made it past Skip Gandy. Chris Hudson's going to try and tuck in underneath Skip Gandy now as they go through 1 and 2.
Yes, they are. Gandy trying to find a way by Chris Hudson.
We've had a big moment for Josh Conker, who just hit the outside wall exiting 1 and 2. He's now fallen back into the clutches of Ryan Goodell.
Oh, that was a big check up there for Josh Conker. Big hit there for him. And now he's got to...
Mark Kalin's around. Mark Kalin gets hit as well. CM Pennington is involved.
All right, let's see exactly what happens here. That is Kalin in the middle of your screen. Oh, just too much speed. You can see the car starting to slide. He tried to catch it and bring it around and then clipped as another car came around, and CM Pennington, I think, just didn't expect that spinning.
Yeah, that was Carlos Romero who made the initial contact, and CM Pennington coming in afterward as well. Gonna take a look here. And this is... Oh my goodness, that was close.
Incredibly close there for Byron McDonald. A great way to be able to get on by for him.
So Mark Kalin has been involved in quite a few wrecks today. Unfortunately, that's going to be a tough break for him as far as penalties are concerned heading into the next race if he's attributed with those incidents, DJ.
Yes, it is. Remember, if you get 2 of those penalties, that is a race suspension potentially for you. So that could absolutely mean that we may not be seeing Mark Kalin in this next race.
So, that was a good fighting up there for the lead of the race. Now we've got 25 minutes remaining in this race. Abner Acosta leads over Richard Regan Jr. Trent Dinkle and Josh Conker were duking it out before Josh Conker hit the outside wall there at the exit of 1 and 2. Ryan Goodell was able to move past Skip Gandy as Skip Gandy got a little bit loose there on the center of the corner, DJ. That was a very interesting moment from Skip. I haven't seen that tonight yet.
And neither have I, and I think that could just be a result of maybe a little bit of damage on the car, maybe of just a little bit of unexpected snap from it, and he was able to, well, make lemonade out of some lemons there.
Also, it might be the fact that we've gone up by 6 degrees Fahrenheit on track as well. It's 112 on track right now, 82 degrees Fahrenheit in the air for these drivers, 47% humidity. So the humidity is decreasing, the temperature is increasing. Now, usually I'd attribute the humidity increasing to a little bit slicker track, but definitely the track temperature increasing could contribute to that.
Yeah, it certainly could. Drivers are going to have to be a little bit careful. It is down a little bit from about 30 minutes ago when it was up to about 115, 116, but still very interesting one way or the other for these drivers.
Another championship leader update, James O'Brien up to 14th position, so another 4 positions gained in that restart. He's almost cracking the top 10. If he can get up to the top 10, that'll be a good recovery drive for him, considering the fact that he's been facing backwards twice today.
Yeah, it most certainly will. And sometimes when you get in those positions, even thinking you can get a top 10 is absolutely unattainable. So I guarantee you he will take it as a win if that is able to what has happened for him today.
Abner Costa leading them once again to the line with Richard Regan Jr. on his outside. Trent Dinkle lined up behind him, and Josh Conker, second car on the outside. Skip Gandy and Ryan Goodell side by side behind them. Abner will lead them to the line once again. Pace car is off. Abner waits for a second, but that actually might be a disadvantage as Richard Regan Jr. got a little bit of a jump on him that time. He's going to try and hang it around the outside and can't quite get down to the bottom side. Trent Dinkle sending it in deep. Can't get the power off the corner. Look at this. Richard Regan Jr. with the best opportunity he's had for a challenge on Abner Costa all day.
He's going to try to send it in there, maybe look for a little bit of a crossover move, but not able to get it done. I thought for a second Dinkle was going to be able to get the power off of the corner, but he wasn't able to get anything as well. Regan Jr. looking very, very threatening here on Abner Acosta.
With Regan Jr., we know how strong he's been over the course of long runs on these older tires. Remember, the tires don't wear as much as they overheat for these drivers. The heat cycle's really starting to get to them, but look at this, Abner Acosta starting to snake away again.
That Costa in that number 5 just looks absolutely untouchable here as they continue to work their way around the top about 10 or so in single file order.
Absolutely. Our first side-by-side battle is actually between Waldo Walden and Byron McDonald as they're down there in the 14th and 15th positions. Eric Papanow and Josh Daniels also battling behind them. You can see just how spread out they're getting and how many damaged cars are back there in that battle.
Yeah, it looks like we're almost running a modified race there with the number of front grills that we've seen ripped off of these cars. But, ooh, got a little bit of side-by-side here as that's the 14 of Ryan Goodell looking a little bit feisty and takes the move to Josh Conker. Now it's going to be Hudson that wants to do it.
Josh Conker has absolutely no grip on that bottom side. I'm not sure what happened to his tires, but he's really struggling. He got extremely loose off of 1 and 2 last time around, and that's why he's in that position under pressure from Ryan Goodell.
Yes, he is. Is Goodell just trying to push it ahead here, but Conker looks like he's at least got the car somewhat gathered back up under him. Slides the car up. Oh, Hudson getting loose.
Oh, contact there between Wilson and Conker's in the outside wall.
No
caution. Yeah, they're going to keep going. So Wilson, just a little bit of miscommunication there with Josh Conker. Conker now back into 13th position.
And that is going to be an absolute wreck to his race there. He is going to have to fight us all the way back forward as we focus in on the battle for second place. Trent Dinkle looking very, very menacing in the rear view mirror of Richard Regan Jr.
Absolutely, Dinkle really putting the pressure on Junior right now. Really important to note that Josh Conker has fallen behind James O'Brien on track. That's now a swap for positions in the points. James O'Brien making points over Josh Conker right now, but riding on board with Trent Dinkle as he's putting pressure on Rich Regan Jr. for second.
Yes, he is. Looked like he backed it off a little bit there, coming into 1 and 2. Moving back across the track, there is Regan Jr. Dinkle just trying to run that car a little bit tighter on corner entry, costing him a little bit on corner exit, but a big slap there for Regan Jr.
Regan Jr. just managing to hang on to it. Trent Dinkle had to put the brakes on. That really actually upset his line. So unfortunately, he still can't quite get going. And something happened to Jose Medina.
I'm not entirely sure what happened to Jose there, but it looks like Dinkle, for all of that noise we were making, just not able to close that down as much as he would like to on Regan Jr. Regan Jr. able to build that gap back up to about 0.3 of a second.
Jose Medina DNF'd, unfortunately. He hit the incident limit, TJ.
Oh, my goodness. We talked about if that was going to come into play here, Adam, and it certainly did. Not enough high speeds here to take a car out of the race completely, but the incident limit coming to bite.
Absolutely. Taking a look at our championship leader right now, that's James O'Brien, who's trying to make positions. He's got Josh Conker, his championship competitor, tucked in right behind him. This is first and second in the points right now, battling for 10th position through 12th position on track. And Richard Regan Jr. just lost second spot to Trent Dinkle. Trent Dinkle's made the pass on Richard Regan Jr.
All right, let's go back and check out a replay on this move for Trent Dinkle. Whoa, big skidder there for Richard Regan Jr., and that is what allows Dinkle to get down to the inside. Adam, that's exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the race, minimizing the mistakes and maximizing from the drivers in front of you. Looks right on board with Regan.
Yeah, this is one of those terrifying moments we're going to see riding on board. The car just slides out from under him. Amazing that he was able to save it at all, but Trent Dinkle taking advantage. He saw Richard Regan Jr. making a couple mistakes over the course of that run, and he was ready to pounce.
Yes, he was, and he's already been able to build up a little bit of a gap as we jump back in the field. This is Scotty Johnson battling very, very hard with Josh Concord looking on behind, and that is James O'Brien trying to get that position.
Absolutely, Scotty Johnson trying to hang on to, fighting against our championship leader, taking it so deep into the corner. We saw him doing this earlier in the race. It worked out for him earlier, and James O'Brien, a little bit of close contact between the two of them as James O'Brien trying to hang on there.
O'Brien trying to hang on the best that he can, but Scotty Johnson not making his life easy. That's a good run there for O'Brien. He's just got to try to dive it in, but look how much more speed Scotty Johnson's able to get on him.
Johnson trying to smoke it down right now, trying to hold on to that position, trying to carry speed through the corner. I think he might not have carried enough speed this time around. And do we have a caution coming out? No. Just hearing a lot of chatter on the radios right now. Josh Conker looking on as his championship rival is duking it out with Scotty Johnson.
And that is just helping Josh Conker. He is able to close in and keep that gap there, as now O'Brien forced to back off of that attack from Scotty Johnson.
And now this gives an opportunity for Josh Conker to try and make a challenge. He's going to take a dive to the inside. Look at it, James O'Brien trying to make the pass for 11th.
Trying to make the pass for 11th to see if Conker can get it. That's O'Brien getting very squirrely.
Oh, no, Brian's just going to give up the position. He's going to try and do the over-under, but Josh Conker parks it on the apex and a little squirrely off the exit for him. But Josh Conker making the pass on James O'Brien, making himself up a couple of points in the championship to his championship rival.
Exactly, that is what that pass is all about, and now Conker's going to try his hand at getting past Scotty Johnson, who is proving to be a very, very wide 07 machine. Got a little bit of a battle directly up front. That is Skip Gandy and Brandon Walter.
Absolutely, Skip Gandy to the inside of Brandon Walter right now. This is the battle for 6th position on track. Skip Gandy trying to make that pass work. Skip has been very good on the longer runs. Brandon Walter falling off pace just a little bit. Skip Gandy able to make the move.
There, he's got it for sure, and that's the 44. That is a lapped car directly ahead of them. That is CM Pennington. Is Gandy able to get up on by him? Thought for a second that was going to give a little bit of an opportunity.
No, contact between Josh Conker and Scotty Johnson, and that's put Scotty Johnson perpendicular to the track. That'll bring out a caution, and Josh Conker will go to the back of the field.
Oh, that is very rough there for Josh Conker. Let's take a look at this here. Goes into the corner. Scotty Johnson just doesn't really anticipate the slow from Scotty Johnson, and that's going to spin the 07 right around.
Yeah, unfortunately, Josh Conker just getting into the left rear quarter panel at that point in the corner sends around Scotty Johnson. So Conker now back down to 18th position. Let's take a look at it from Conker's perspective.
Yeah, so here you see him go into the corner. I think he may have clipped a little bit of the grass there as well. That may have been part of what happened on that. But one way or the other, Conker, bad day, just going from bad to worst to worst.
Not too much damage there for Scotty Johnson, but tons of time lost. And I think Scotty's definitely going to have to come into the pits for tires. But Josh Conker comes into the pits, so he's decided that being one of the last cars on lead lap, he's going to get some tires and fuel and try and make some progress with those tires and fuel towards the back half of this race. We are under 15 minutes to go, 14 minutes to go in 10 seconds time.
Exactly, so that timed race for sure coming into play here. Nobody gonna opt to take tires. I am not surprised. We saw them run 129 laps on that previous stint, and now with only about 15 laps to go, they are all gonna opt to stay out. They've only run about 53 laps on this set of tires right now.
And DJ, remember that those heat cycles are really affecting the drivers as well. So that's, I think, what we saw happening towards the end of that last stint. So Oh, and some people have decided to come in. So we've seen Pat Harvey come in, Charles Sumner, Drew DeWeese as well. Taylor Stout has also come in, as well as Eric Papineau. All these drivers have had incidents in the past. So not many people, except for Byron McDonald and Josh Conker. Well, Byron McDonald, really, is the driver who has taken a gamble on the tires at this point. He's back down in 14th.
Yeah, a little bit of damage to the front of that car, and we've seen that get picked up over the course of the race. But I think that's a good move there. If you're down in the mid-pack, take tires, see if that can help you out a little bit. Maybe move your way forward. The only thing for Byron McDonald is he is going to have Josh Conker directly behind him, who did come down and take tires on that lap. So he'll be in 15th right now.
So Drew DeWeese got caught behind the pace car after coming out from his pit stop, so he's going to fall to the back of the field. We'll see whether or not that leads to a delayed start for these guys. Pace car is going to come across. Pace car is going to come across the line now, and the lights have gone off, so we are going to get going racing right now.
Indeed, and again, the storyline is going to be here. That will anybody be able to get Abner Acosta on this restart? Dinkel is now the latest to try his hand at it.
Abner Acosta will lead them to the line. Oh, Trent Dinkel having some issues. He's now spun to the bottom of the track. This will absolutely lead to a delayed start. Dinkel's wheel has shut off.
Oh my goodness.
The pace car has dropped down. It's going to be a race start here. We're going to get going racing with about 12 minutes to go here. So Abner Acosta with a great advantage over Richard Regan Jr. Ryan Goodell trying to hold on to that third position. Everyone a little bit flustered after what happened there. The 17's still down at the bottom of the track.
Yeah, and it's thankfully off the racing line, so no yellow being called, but absolute heartbreak there for Trent Dinkel.
Close stuff between Chris Hudson and Ryan Goodell for the third position, but Richard Regan Jr. putting heavy pressure right now on Abner Acosta, our leader, and we've had another wreck. Josh Conker's around again.
Oh, Josh Conker suffering again here as he continues to fall down the order.
Made contact with CM Pennington. And actually, this was contact with Scotty Johnson going into the corner.
Yeah, just clipped and came down on him there. That was, I gotta say, that was an incident of Conker's own making there.
Yeah, both the two of them coming together a little bit. The 17 still actually stranded down at the bottom of the track right now. So, very, very difficult scenarios here for these drivers. Trent Dinkel just stranded at the bottom of the track. We've had another wreck with Josh Conker and Scotty Johnson. Those two drivers can't seem to stay apart from each other, DJ.
No, they really can't hear Adam. And, well, okay, it's now time for Richard Regan Jr. to try his hand again to answer that age-old question, can anybody beat Abner Acosta off the start?
Well, so far the answer has been no. And nobody has led a start except for Abner Acosta, so we don't know whether or not Abner Acosta is unbeatable or whether or not it's just being in pole position around here. Fortunately, we haven't seen, and of course, knock on wood, and commentator's curse is going to occur now, but unfortunately, we haven't seen anyone spin their tires off of the line yet, DJ, so that's a fortunate thing as well.
You are right. Nobody's done that, as we've got another taker down pit lane. I believe that's Scotty Johnson coming down, as well as that's the 05 there in the back. That's Tom Amasi, multiple laps down.
Absolutely. So a couple of takers there to try and get some fuel and tires to improve their race. But at the front of the field, no takers because we know how long these tires can go. Now that's going to be an interesting factor, DJ, heading into next season for NASCAR.
Yes, it is. If this is to be believed, that it's really much more of a heating issue than a wear issue on some of these short tracks, that's going to make things very fun in the real world.
All right, so we're still circulating now under 9 minutes to go for these drivers. We'll keep you abreast of the time. Remember that they do caution laps at about 41.5 seconds and race laps at about 19 to 20 seconds. So that will be our barometer for the timing for sure, but we're going to go side by side once again. This is going to be our 12th caution, I believe, that we are under right now. Quite a few laps under caution, almost a quarter of the race under caution that we've had so far. Abner Acosta will lead them to the line once again with Richard Regan Jr. giving it his best shot on the outside. Ryan Goodell, first time he's lined up in third, with Chris Hudson lining up in fourth. Skip Gandy down in fifth, a familiar place for him at the moment. That's your top five. Abner Acosta will lead them to the line as the pace car drops down towards the pit lane, and he's going to launch again. Richard Regan Jr., not a great start for him, unfortunately, this time around. Is Ryan Goodell going to try and dive it down to the inside? The answer is no, but Richard Regan Jr. gives him the space anyway, and now it's Ryan Goodell and Chris Hudson side by side for second.
Hudson trying to carry some momentum up on that high line.
That was a late dive there, I think I saw for Abner Acosta, down towards an early dive rather, down towards the entry of 3 and 4. So Richard Regan Jr., he's really feeling the pressure from him.
Yeah, he is. He really wants to cover off any of that potential overtaking possibility there. Whoa! But that's going to help Abner Acosta breathe a little bit easier, as that was Richard Regan Jr. getting very sideways.
And don't look now, but in 6th position, up on that high side, you see that 9 car. That's our championship leader, James O'Brien, somehow making his way into the 6th position after being turned around twice during this race. Made a lot of recoveries, and we had another spinner. That's Daniel Ali.
And I think there was a little bit of contact there that sent that 666 spinning around. It looked like it was almost 3 wide coming through 1 and 2.
This is contact with the number 8 machine and the number 40. So that's going to be Byron McDonald, who's made contact, and Taylor Burris, both of them making contact with that 666 machine.
Yeah, so there you see the 666 diving it into the corner. Just a little bit of a 1-2 punch there. I think McDonald didn't expect him to move down the track nearly as much as he did, and that's what sent him spinning.
So at this point, James O'Brien in 6th position will only lose points to Abner Acosta as far as his closest championship competitors, because Joshua Daniels is down in 11th position. We have Josh Conker down in 14th. James O'Brien's recovery drive today has been nothing short of stellar ever since having that second incident. So he's in a really good position, even if Abner wins this race.
Yes, he is, and this is the kind of drive that championships are made of, Adam. He just has to fight his way forward, get the most that he can out of the day, and you know that he is going to try to push ahead.
All right, so looking at pit lane, no real takers this time by. There's a couple people towards the back of the field. Greg Wilson comes into the pits again, but he's 105 laps down, so I don't think he's going to be a real factor towards the end of this race, so let's hope not. Very interesting race today at North Wilkesboro. It's been a real challenge for these new cars, DJ. It seems like the grip is in short supply, but still tons of good battling out here.
Oh, most certainly. Putting on a great show and definitely giving a little bit of credence at a possible return here, I think, is North Wilkesboro just proving once again that it is a great track for any kind of stock car that you want to throw at it.
5 minutes to go for the drivers, regardless of whether that's under caution or not. So 5 minutes to go right now as they have crossed the line. That's going to give us, probably another 2 laps under caution. Then, you know, if we do math, which is always dangerous, it's about 3 laps to a minute. So 3 times 5 would be 15 laps.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, 15, 14-ish, somewhere around that number. But Abner Acosta, regardless, is going to be in the catbird seat at the moment with Richard Regan Jr. tucked in behind him. We currently have a lapped car of Daniel Ali, who was involved in that wreck, just now unlapping himself as we go side by side once again. Abner Acosta leading them to the line with Richard Regan Jr. in second. Ryan Goodell's going to line up in third with Chris Hudson in fourth. Skip Gandy in the 5th position. Not much change over the last start. Well, the question is, how much change will there be on the start as far as Richard Regan Jr.'s attempt at catching Abner Acosta? He did get a decent start last time, forced Abner to go defensive in the 3 and 4. Can he do so again? Here we go with the pace car pulling off, and Abner launches even earlier this time, catches Richard Regan Jr. out a little bit of wheel spin up there for Chris Hudson, and James O'Brien up there in the 6th position as they go into turns 1 and 2. Very tight between Abner and Richard Regan Jr. as Ryan Goodell and Chris Hudson still battle side by side for 3rd.
And that Skip Gandy starting to get interested if that Heinlein's not going to work out for Chris Hudson, doing a really good job. Hudson now having to play defense as Gandy fully on the attack here as they dive into 1 and 2.
It's very aggressive driving from all of these drives. Look at this. That's Chris Hudson trying to... Oh my gosh, that was a big slide from Brandon Walter, who manages to hang on to the machine. That was some sketchy stuff. But Byron McDonald diving to the inside now of James O'Brien. He's trying to make the move for the 6th position himself.
Yes, he is. And McDonald right now, one of those drivers that took tires, remember, so he may have a little bit of an advantage on some of these other drivers potentially.
Absolutely late dives going on right now. Tons of drivers not super happy with each other on the chat right now. Byron McDonald trying to think about making a move 3 wide underneath Skip Gandy and Chris Hudson, who are still side by side as we go into 1 and 2. Skip Gandy trying to make it work on the bottom side. Very loose as he comes off the corner. He's going to have to give that position up to Chris Hudson. Byron McDonald trying to go around the outside now.
McDonald's going to try to carry that momentum around the outside to the best of his abilities, and it looks like he is just about going to have it as they cross over the line with about 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. McDonald almost fully sideways through 1 and 2, though.
Oh my gosh, lots of drivers very much struggling to try and hang on to their machines. That's Byron McDonald very loose on the exit of 1 and 2 as well. So tons of drivers really struggling with traction at this point in the race. DJ, as we cross the line, it is 2 minutes to go.
2 minutes to go. Drivers really struggling, trying to fight it around here. Byron McDonald trying desperately to hold on to that high line, but it just doesn't look like he is going to be able to keep it.
James O'Brien's fallen back to 8th position. He just did not like that high line. Didn't work out for him. Charles Sumner clawing his way forward. And look at this. Byron McDonald and Pat Harvey have fresher tires than the rest of the group. Only 26 laps old to the 77 of the cars ahead of them.
Yeah, and that's starting to pay dividends there. You can see McDonald being able to place the car really where he wants to as he now tries to dive to the inside of Pat Harvey.
Pat Harvey way up the track, able to hang on to it. Fortunately, not wrecking this time around, but Byron McDonald diving down the inside, taking a look at Skip Gandy, locks up the front left tire a little bit as Skip Gandy cut him off into 1.
Cut him off into 1 and being able to hold it out, though, as we continue to tick down, our eyes on the clock. Only about 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining here at North Wilkesboro. McDonald going to go for a move to the inside. Maybe no. Gandy's not going to let him by.
James O'Brien also trying to make a move behind as well on Pat Harvey, but Pat Harvey's fresher tires powering him through on the outside. Up at the front of the field, Abner Acosta out to about a second gap over Richard Regan Jr., who's under pressure from Ryan Goodell. Chris Hudson also looking on. There you see Abner circulating, trying to do his best to just hang on to this machine towards the end of the race. We are down to about 3 laps to go this time for Abner Acosta. 2 to 3 laps to go. We'll have to keep our eyes on the flag stand to see when we get the white flag.
We will indeed, and just utter domination here from Abner Acosta. He is driving the wheels off of that number 5 machine, about 1.3 seconds ahead of anyone around him at this point. Yellow on track.
Drew DeWeese has gone around. This will end the race. And major contact right there. Who is that hit him?
Looking to see. We're going to have to check out the replay on this, Adam, to know for sure.
And I believe Abner Acosta will get the white flag the next time around as we're watching the replay here to see what happened on the exit of the corner. Into turn 1, just a little bit of a late dive, sends the machine around. Contact there between them. And Abner Acosta coming onto the front straightaway will, I believe, yes, he will. He will take the checkered flag here over Richard Regan Jr., Ryan Goodell, Chris Hudson, and Skip Gandy. Abner Acosta, flag to flag, winning this race.
Absolutely incredible dominance from Abner Acosta, and we mentioned it early on, and then we kind of forgot about it because he was just running so well. Richard Regan Jr. up 24 positions. Goodness gracious, what a run.
Good run for James O'Brien as well. He comes home in 8th position. A good recovery for being 2 laps down at one point, our championship leader. But Abner Acosta getting a little push by Richard Regan Jr. to come around and celebrate his win today. That's going to take us to a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but don't go anywhere. We will have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews for you. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this.
As we come down the Ullman Straight, yes, he is much closer.
Very, very close behind, under 0.2 of a second. That's going to come down to under 1/10 of a second if he decides to go for the move. He's going to think about it. A little bit of a Pruitt fade there from Krasowski as they go down into sunset.
Doesn't completely cover it off, though, and Fuji.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to round 6 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series here in North Wilkesboro. Oh boy, that was almost bad. But what a fantastic race we saw today. Ended up finishing under time, but my goodness, was it a thriller regardless. Abner Acosta, flag to flag, winning this race, but Rich Regan Jr. doing his best to try and come from the back of the field to the front, coming short just by one car, up 24 spots in second position. Ryan Goodell, a great race for him, also up 13 spots into third, with Chris Hudson battling his way from 8th up to 4th spot. Skip Gandy fell a couple of positions down to 5th. Still a good finish for him though, with Byron McDonald in 6th position and Pat Harvey in 7th. James O'Brien recovered from having 2 wrecks today at 1.2 laps down, recovers back to 8th for a decent recovery and point stay. Charles Sumner comes home in 9th position, with Taylor Burris rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Brandon Walter, followed by Joshua Daniels, with Waldo Walden and Josh Conker also recovering back to be in 14th. Eric Papineau was 15th, followed by Daniel Alley, and Drew DeWeese was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Taylor Stout was 2 laps down. Scotty Johnson and Matthew Long round out your top 20, multiple laps down.
Trent Dinkle had a wheel failure, unfortunately, with CM Pennington having a bad day. Mark Kalin also having a bad day, and the rest of these drivers really not having great days themselves. Mike Witt, Tom Amassi, Jose Medina, Adam Zemke, Carlos Romero, Robert Bisau Jr., Greg Wilson, Lou Christensen, Bob Clement, Baron Hilton, and Joao Guerrero. Baron Hilton and Joao did not end up starting the race, unfortunately. But we have our top 3 to talk to you today. Abner Acosta having won the race. Flag to flag, Abner. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, but this seemed like a challenging course, but you really had a good handle on it today, even with that long, over 100-lap run.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Yeah, that was the goal to qualify first, and I expect. I mean, we did have a lot of cautions. That long run really surprised me. So I honestly did not practice like saving tire or anything. And I think I think Trent was catching me there for a little bit. So, but yeah, just the goal today was to qualify first and just get ahead. And it's so hard to pass here. So if you're ahead, you can pretty much take it home.
Absolutely. You captured the fastest lap as well today, so extra point for your bag as well. But pole and fastest lap, that's going to give you a good points boost. And with James O'Brien and the other championship points contenders not having great days either, must feel like a good day in the championship as well.
Yeah, definitely recovering a lot of points. I think I might miss a race. I have, I'm gonna be blocked out one of the days, so I have something to do. So I don't think I'm, with missing a day and I already have like 2 DNFs, that's gonna kill my championship hopes. But we'll see what happens. Just taking it race by race, I guess, and just see what happens at the end.
Absolutely. And Abner, I mean, like, you seem like you mastered those restarts. Was the strategy just to go as soon as the pace car dove down to pit lane?
Yeah, just felt like as soon as the pace car just goes down, I'm looking straight at my turn and it's uncomfortable for everybody else on the field. So I was just not letting them get straightened out and take that advantage.
Well, a great race today, regardless, Abner. Flag to flag victory. And is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, everybody at Private Label Team Hype, all of the guys today. I think we did pretty well. I think Josh got wrecked or something like that, but we all did pretty good. Sponsors Nuanism, Ethica, you guys at GSRC for broadcasting every race, and PRL for hosting the league. Thank you.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Abner, and we look forward to seeing you at Kentucky next week.
All right, see you. Have a good night.
Abner Acosta, our winner of the race today, flag to flag, and DJ Clark has caught up to Richard Regan Jr., who had quite a drive from the back of the field today.
Indeed, I have. Richard, starting with an EOL penalty, working your way all the way up through the field and to be challenging for the win there, this has got to feel especially good.
Yeah, it feels good to come up through the field like that. I didn't think I thought I'd get wrecked early with all the cautions and how easy it is to spin these cars out. So if you would have come up as fast as I did and have a good run was good.
How do you like the these next gen cars on this track? We were kind of talking about how it looked like a real handful out there.
Yeah, I never got to run the Gen 6 here. I had to miss that race, but these cars are definitely a handful. The bigger rim and the smaller sidewall definitely plays a factor in how you can feel the slide of the car. So it's like a light switch, but we'll get used to it.
Well, and this is really capping off a really fantastic run for you here over the past couple of races. And I've got to ask you, I mean, where are your eyes starting to turn here? Are you taking things race by race, or are you looking a little bit bigger picture? How are you feeling?
For the rest of the season, I'm just doing race by race. I've had some bad luck this year. Last week, I wrecked lap 1, turn 3. I was able to finish, I think, top 15 with the junked car. So, just race by race, trying to figure out the car. I haven't had much time to be able to run it. So basically the only time I get to run it is in these races. I didn't get any practice today until like 5 minutes before the race started. So just have to get the experience in them.
All right, well, that makes this run all the more impressive, my friend. Even more kudos to you. But anybody you want to thank for this second place here today?
Yeah, I got to thank Private Label, everyone at Team Hype, Ethica, Neonism, all Kaylee Street Creations, everyone that tunes in, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
We are more than happy to do so. And that was Richard Regan Jr., your second place finisher here today. And now, Adam, I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher, Ryan Goodell.
Absolutely, Ryan. A fantastic finish today in a hard-fought race. It seemed like a lot of chaos out there towards the mid-pack and the front pack. Talk to me about your race today.
Yeah, definitely war of attrition tonight, and just trying to stay clean was half the battle.
Absolutely, and with 2 second places and now a third, I mean, it's It's got to be tempting to want to get to that top position. What do you think it is? When do you think your best opportunity for that's going to be?
Not sure. Probably Daytona, Daytona road course. But kind of ends up coming down to luck a lot, obviously, with this league and the cautions that we've seen. So we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely, and considering the fact that you moved yourself up from 16th position up to that third spot today, how was it fighting through the field today? And is it really difficult with all those cautions, or does that actually help your strategy out a little bit?
Well, at least tonight, I thought my long run pace was a little bit better than the guys in front of me. So all those cautions really didn't help me. Thought I had a little bit for Richard tonight, probably nothing for Abner, but would have liked to actually made the race on laps tonight instead of having a timed race.
Absolutely. And what do you think is the most challenging aspect of this new next-gen NASCAR machine now that we've been driving it for 6 rounds?
Definitely when you have colder tires, it's very snappy. So like you lose grip, and then when you get grip and gain, you kind of snap. So you'll see guys right at the start, first couple laps of a run, get loose, and then it snaps and they hook it right. That's kind of been difficult. I've seen that a lot, and at least cars kind of snapping loose unannounced, where, at least with the Gen 6, you had something to lean on and some side force. Doesn't seem like we have any of that yet, at least at these smaller tracks.
Well, Ryan, congrats on your 3rd podium of the season and a 3rd place today. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out to Waterback eSports and all the guys over there. Usually Brad cleans up on Wednesday night, so nice to get us another podium. And then CJBS, who's my sponsor. We're an accounting firm in Northbrook, so if anybody's looking for accounting services now that it's tax time, keep me in mind. Ryan Goodell, CJBS. Thanks, guys.
That was Ryan Goodell, who finished 3rd today, and that's going to wrap us up here today. We want to give a big thank you to Precision Racing League for bringing us back for another season, and also a big thank you to our sponsors. ASR, they design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Thanks also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our amazing music. Check out her Bandcamp for more of her awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Joe, and Dougie, and you can find more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't, so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race for the PRL Cup Series that we're going to cover is going to be a Daytona Road Course, which is Sunday, February 13th. That's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're not going to want to miss that one either. Very interesting to see these NASCAR cars going around the road course. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.